Hi, I'm Marjorie Brook from Marjorie Brook Seminars, and I want to talk to you today about scar tissue. What's the big deal? I've had scars since I'm little, right? You fell off your bike when you were 3, you got the injury playing football in high school, you constantly banged your hip into the desk and you kind of have a bruise that doesn't ever go away. No big deal, right? Doesn't affect you. Wrong. In fact, scar tissue is a majorly big deal, and it's something that most people and almost everyone, including doctors and trainers and coaches, ignore. And yet, it's basically a problem with the essential thing that keeps us together and makes us what we are, and that's called your connective tissue. Your skin and all the tissues, three-dimensionally, front to back, top to bottom, inside, outside, all the way around your body is one big giant piece of tissue. And if anything is caught, kinked, in that tissue, we have an issue, because that tissue is supposed to move and slide and twist and bend and move in every possible direction and even pull apart and come back together if you want to get really technical about it. But the problem is, if you have a scar, now I'm not just talking about that scar we don't like aesthetically on a surface, on our face, on our arm, the scar that we can see. I'm talking about scar tissue that runs all the way through your body, because that scar that you can see, that's the tip of the iceberg. And we're not even just talking about scars, we're talking about adhesions, like anything that causes this tissue to stick together and not move the way it was meant to move. And we think, oh, what's the big deal? It's a huge deal, and no one really addressed it until, it's starting to get some attention now. But like, how often, think about it, if you've had a surgery, or if your parents or someone you know has had surgery, if your clients, if your therapist has had surgery, what kind of prep was done before the surgery for scar tissue or for the boosting of your immune system? Nothing really. What's done immediately after surgery, while you're still even hanging out in the hospital bed? Nothing, right? Think about it. What do they send you home with? What kind of suggestions, other than keeping the wound clean and covered, do they talk to you about trying to avoid the buildup of scar tissue and all the different steps that you can do? They really don't. Let's talk about if you have an injury, right? You played a sport, or you're a runner, and those shins are kind of tight, those hamstrings are kind of tight, but you're still going to run. You're building up adhesions and stuck tissue, and you're not paying attention to it, and it's affecting the way that you move. It's affecting your time and how fast you can run. If you're, say, a football player, it's affecting the different ways you're moving on the field. If you are a weightlifter or a bodybuilder, any type of big exercise fanatic, it's affecting the way you work out and the way your body is building. Even worse, what about our kids? The falling off the tricycle. Right? Our kids are playing sports more and more like adults every single day. It's the kids with the backpacks. And I know you're saying the backpacks aren't a big deal anymore because everybody's going by a laptop, but then that leads right into our other problem with our phones and with our iPads, and everybody looking down all the time, repetitive motion, or being stagnant in one position. That locks up our tissues and causes adhesions. All of these things come together to cause problems throughout every single system in our body. And that's why it's massively important in order to work with scar tissue. And you're saying, well, how do I work with it? Well, as a therapist, for all my therapists out there, I've developed a specific technique called the STRAIGHT method, which is scar tissue and integrated therapies, which we can talk about in a little bit. But the main point is there's all types of different things that you can do with scar tissue. There is hands-on techniques where you can go to a therapist, or as a therapist, use with your clients and your patients. There's also other preventative methods that can be done. And unless we take the time to learn about it, we're just going to be basically, as we've always been, stuck. And not only not changing, but going downhill from there.